Before this video starts, I want to say thank y'all for not only 228 subscribers, but also 2.3 thousand views on my last video. You know, y'all look pretty amazing. And to the new folks, howdy. Glad you enjoyed the content. With that out of the way, let's get this started. So, I was in the middle of making a video about the pain and the struggles I went through during my early childhood years of only having a Wii to play on instead of maybe an Xbox 360 or a PS3, when I got a comment under one of my community posts talking about how they're going through something similar with them being stuck with only a Nintendo Switch. Hearing them talk about their experiences with their circumstances made me feel a familiar pain that hits really close to home. Due to this, I'll be talking about Nintendo as a whole instead of just the Wii. So Everest_70, this video's for you and I hope you like it. So when it comes to their consoles, Nintendo doesn't really compete in the power department anymore. They haven't ever since the GameCube back in 2001. And when you think about it, that's pretty okay. I mean, if you want a more powerful system, you go for a PlayStation or an Xbox. That's just how it is now. But here's my thing. Why does that have to be the case? Like, personally, I'd rather not have to choose between Tears of the Kingdom and just about every major third-party game that comes out every year. Why can't I have them all? Now, the first thought that probably came into your head is to buy an Xbox or a PlayStation to go along with the Switch, but there's a problem with that. Not everyone can afford more than one console. Yeah, I know, first world problem, get a job and all that junk. But hear me out. So, when I was 7, my folks got me a Wii. I loved the system to death growing up. Playing games like Super Mario Galaxy, Mario Strikers Charged, and Mario and Sonic at the Olympic series made up a lot of my childhood. But there was a problem with the console I grew more and more annoyed with as I got older. A lot of the new games I saw in stores and on commercials either had really watered down versions for the Wii or skipped the console entirely. You see, the Wii was the beginning of Nintendo's major shift from making and marketing the consoles toward the hardcore gaming market to more of a casual one. This move resulted in all Nintendo systems going forward being really underpowered compared to their competition. In some ways, this was a pretty cool thing since not worrying that much about power allowed Nintendo to think more outside the box with their systems, like the DS's dual screens and the Switches being both a home console and a handheld system. But this also had a few downsides, with the biggest one being that a lot of games were just too big for the systems to run. I know I really shouldn't be worried about all this anymore since now I can just emulate every Nintendo game known to man, but having the experience of being somebody that lived a lot of his childhood wishing that he could play some of the coolest looking games he's ever seen, but couldn't because the console he was stuck with wasn't powerful enough still sucks a lot today, because I know there's a whole bunch of young folks that went through the same exact thing with the Wii U, and I know there's folks going through it today with the Switch. I mean, of course, third party support ain't as bad on the Wii U and the Switch as it was on the Wii, but hey, a smaller issue is still an issue regardless. I know Nintendo's whole thing is to stay in their own bubble and make weaker hardware, but in interesting and sometimes really weird ways, and I can acknowledge and appreciate that a lot. It takes a lot of courage and creativity to be able to do what Nintendo does, but deep down, I still wish they can make interesting and creative hardware and still have enough power to run modern looking games. And it's not like Nintendo's own games wouldn't benefit from running on better hardware either. I know in my video about getting out of your comfort zone and playing different types of games, I said that graphics ain't everything and that you should prioritize gameplay over graphics and story when playing the game, and I stand by what I said. Nintendo doesn't need to sell people on visual fidelity and crazy high frame rates when advertising their games because their gameplay is always on point. It's why Tears of the Kingdom is selling so well despite it only running at 720 or 900p at 30 FPS. But with that said, things can be better. As somebody that may or may not know what Breath of the Wild and Astral Chain look and feel like to play at 1440p and 60 FPS and above, I can tell you that it's very much a night and day difference compared to playing them natively on the Switch. No, I'm not saying that Nintendo's games need to run at 4K at 120 FPS. We can say that for the emulators. What I prefer would be for all the games to be at a standard 1080p at 60 FPS. That'd be enough for me at least. Also, no, I'm not saying the way games look and run on the Switch is unplayable in the slightest. Don't get it twisted, I ain't saying that at all. Super Mario Bros. Wonder is gonna be topping sales charts all through the winter for a reason. The gameplay is gonna make up for everything the game might lack in the technical department. I will go a little bit deeper into all this, but I plan on making a separate video about this whole thing concerning not just Nintendo, but also Xbox and PlayStation. But my whole point is basically that while yes, Nintendo's games are very much playable the way they are now on the Switch, it can be better. Even if you're the most diehard Nintendo fan on the planet, you gotta admit that in a world where games are pushing for 4K and 60 and even 120 frames per second, second, and for bigger and grander experiences more and more as time goes on, it gets harder and harder to put over Nintendo's somewhat outdated way of making their systems. I mean, imagine a Xenoblade game where Monolith Soft wasn't chained down by the technical limitations of what's pretty much a half a decade old Android tablet. If they're capable of making games like Xenoblade 2 and 3 on the Switch, just imagine what they'd be able to do on something that's at least as powerful as the PS4 and the Xbox One. Speaking of, that brings me to something that kinda gets me excited to think about. The next new Nintendo system, whatever it is. So it's no surprise at all that an announcement of Nintendo's next new system is right around the corner. And there's a lot of rumors, fake leaks, and overall a whole bunch of speculation about it. Personally, I'm only focused on how much power it's gonna have. I already know it's not gonna be nearly as powerful as a PS5 or an Xbox Series X, but I'm praying that it has enough power to at least run major third-party games. I can already see a lot of games that are skipping the Switch get a port on the new system. Persona 3 Reload is a game I can already see that happening with. The game already looks like it can fit on the Switch with a few compromises, but with a new system coming soon, Atlas might just be waiting to put the game on that instead. I heard Persona 5 Royal sold pretty well on the Switch, and I seriously doubt Atlas will want to miss out on any potential profits they can make off this game, especially given how the base game is $70 yet it still has separate day one DLC. It's things like this that somewhat give me hope that big third-party games and studios won't treat the new console like they do the Switch. And no, I don't consider cloud versions of games to be proper releases for obvious reasons. I want full native releases of games like the new Assassin's Creed and GTA 6 on the same system I play Mario and Zelda on. I feel like what I'm asking for is reasonable, but at the same time, I feel like I'm asking for too much. It's a weird feeling. I think I should just get to the conclusion of this video before I wind up saying something dumb. In conclusion, I just wish Nintendo made more powerful hardware. That's pretty much it. This whole video stems from the 8-year-old kid inside me still mad he couldn't play the HD version of Sonic Unleashed growing up, and still can't because I can't get RPCS3 to run the game for the life of me. It's more of a venting video to be completely honest with y'all, but I hope y'all still got something out of it. You must have since you still here. Well, while I have your attention, if you like this video, I have a few others you might like. And if you like me enough already, maybe subscribe and follow me on Twitter while you're at it. Also, I thank y'all again for 20,000 views on the last video and 700 subscribers. I really appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. Now with that out of the way, that's all for today. Have a good day, folks.